Welcome to the Skeleton Key. It's me, Nico. The topic of beauty is actually really, you could say, what got me down this rabbit hole in the first place, like half a year ago, trying to understand what true beauty was as opposed to illusion. I was thinking a lot about how I would project my anima onto people and then it would just sort of vanish, and I wouldn't understand why I was attracted and why I wasn't. And I've sort of returned to it and tried to simplify it, because at the time I was doing a slightly different practice of using two different sets of concepts as opposed to doubling up on the same concepts, which maybe I'll return to at some point. But for now, I want to focus on just the skeleton key of beauty. In the hubris slot, we have the state of being beautiful itself. I've become fascinated since I read the term. I believe it's kalos kagathon. Maybe I should know that. But it's an ancient Greek understanding which suggests that virtue is tied to beauty, that they're correlated in some way. And so we have this idea of the beautiful as being more than something aesthetic, but also a sort of signal of goodness, which is very common in fairy tales and is also very common in propaganda and stigma and denigration. So definitely there's this association with goodness and beauty, but that's not really what I'm here to talk about, though I think it does expand beautiful as a concept. And in the Nevma slot, we've got ugliness, to be ugly. And viewed through the idea of the Kalon Kagathos, ugliness is also a sort of evilness. In this world, we're obsessed with whether or not things are beautiful or ugly. And that's the hubris and the nevma. That's the main dichotomy. Now, if someone is to feel themselves beautiful but not be able to see the truth in the aspects of them which are ugly, the ways in which they act, or aspects of their physicality, if we're accepting that there is some type of correlation, but not getting bogged in that, more just the idea that, is everything that this person does really beautiful? Is this really a beautiful person in the sense of being beautiful inside and out? And to never be able to see the truth in aspects of the ugliness within the self denies the breathing between the hubris and the nevma. And likewise, in that state of ugliness, to never be able to see the truth that there are actually redemptive and beautiful qualities within the self denies that breathing. But we're talking about someone who feels themselves to be beautiful and is actually in denial of the ugliness within them. And that sort of degenerates into what I've just called made up, covering up the truth. And in this condition, one can live in denial and imagine themselves to still be entirely beautiful up until that point at which ideally they accept the truth that there is something within them that is ugly and return back to the nevma. From that nevma of ugliness, no one is ever entirely ugly, and to rest in that state for too long is a sort of self-neglect where the project of the self aesthetically and on a spiritual level is given up on. There's this sort of self-neglect that comes where limiting beliefs about the nature of one's character or the nature of how one looks lead to the abandonment of potential and the disregard of the beauty that's already dormant inside, or that's plain to see but somehow through a sort of dysmorphia or anything just isn't seen. And that's the realm of the nemesis, of the sort of the untapped beauty. From there, to return to that generative cycle, hopefully one rediscovers the beauty within themselves. It's quite simple, really. But rediscovery and acceptance obviously aren't the only paths. When in that shadow realm, it's just as easy to enter the degenerative cycle, which instead of a focus on truth becomes about artifice, fabrication. And so the state of an untapped beauty, or the state of being made up, which is a sort of a fictitious beauty. It's a beauty that's not actually there. The true beauty that's there is disregarded, and the ugliness that is there is covered up. And that back and forth is the degenerative cycle. The contrast to this obviously being a commitment to truth is that, just to give an example, if someone is beautiful, so they've got very nice skin or whatever, and I don't know, they start to get breakouts or whatever, what do people fuss about? They're getting pimples and stuff. and they start putting makeup over it, using all different products and things to try and fix it. And I think the missed opportunity there is to see the truth that actually something in my body is not coping well with my lifestyle, and to see the truth in that and to acknowledge the ugliness as opposed to trying to cover it up, perhaps by then altering the diet or the sleeping patterns or cutting out things like cigarettes or smoking. It's only in acknowledging the truth of it as opposed to trying to cover it up that the real solution can come, and the fastest return into true beauty could come from that. That's the example that I had in mind. Those like bizarre compliments that people give, or like someone will say, oh, like I love your ears, you've got such great ears, and you think, wow, I always thought I had funny ears. That's the untapped returning to the beautiful. Things like that. But I hope that this skeleton key can actually show how the beauty industry and extrinsic beauty standards are actually a part of the degenerative cycle of artifice, and that true beauty is just that. It's completely true to the self. It's a completely authentic expression of something that's already within that person, and that it doesn't need to be altered or pretended that it's something it's not. It just needs to be acknowledged and appreciated. I think that we're all beautiful. At the very least, we're all capable of beauty, and a beauty can be found in anything. I remember when I was first reflecting on beauty as artifice, and it really did my head in, because I would think about these people, just these real strikingly beautiful people that I'd see, and I'd think, but are they truly beautiful? I would look at them and I'd realize how there was this sort of captivation that would happen, where something about them would be like, oh, you have to look at me from this angle, or you have to see me while I'm made up. I'll contrast that with other people that I'd meet and I'd talk to, and it's just the way that I would feel when I realized that beauty. And it's usually something innocuous, like the way that they look at you, the way that they laugh, just something very little like that it doesn't matter what angle you're looking at them from, it doesn't matter what day you catch them, it doesn't matter if you're captured by their beauty. It's a beauty that exists in and of itself and will be there regardless, because there's something magical in that part of them. And I think a lot of that beauty is about uniquely charming things to that person. A big part of the beauty is that they're honoring the self, and they're telling something authentic about the self, as opposed to being a cover-up or an artifice. If there's anything I could emphasize, maybe it's that. Isn't beauty wonderful? All right, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and to everyone listening, you are beautiful. Is that cheesy? You're all very, very, very beautiful. Thank you for watching. Ciao.